I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, and thank you for attending. This is the December 5th, 2023 City Council meeting of the City of Windom. Tonight on the agenda, we have first the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the council from November 21st, HRA November 8th, Park and Rec Commission minutes November 8th, Telecom Commission November 20th, Utility Commission November 22nd, Street Committee November 27th. Also included are license and permits consisting of an exempt gambling permit request from the Windom Women of Today. That is for April 3rd, 2024. Business Art and Recreation Center Incorporated for January 6th, 16th. I believe on the agenda is wrong. It should be 2024. Correct. Also included are the regular bills. Council?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda and the regular bills.
I'll second.
Motion made by Scott, seconded by Jenny to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. Department heads. Seeing none, we're down to a big ticket item of the 2024 city budget. First off, we'll have the 2024 budget presentation. That'll be brought to us by Steve.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. City Council had been sent the budget book, and that was a link that was also online on our website. I've got just a few PowerPoint slides to kind of go over the major parts of the budget. So budget is kind of made up of our revenues and expenses, and of that, there's subsets of the enterprise fund, the general fund, special revenue funds, debt service, and miscellaneous. Enterprise funds are things like water, sewer, telecom, electric. General fund are like police, building and zoning, city office, things like that. Special revenue are those facilities that make some money but not enough to be self-supporting. So like community center, arena, library. Debt service is the debt that we owe on our bonds that are outstanding for different projects. And then miscellaneous projects are, there's a number of TIF projects, a couple of other programs in there, such as the dilapidated housing program, that kind of thing. So that's what comprises those categories. You can see that we're projecting revenues of about $31.6 million. The asterisk, it does note that does include our liquor and electric bond proceeds that we just did at the last meeting. We've closed on those. Those are for projects that we currently have underway. Expenses, again, same categories, and then depreciation is on there too. That's a non-cash expense, but it is an expense. But our non-cash expenses total $30,800,000. So you can see that's slightly under what our revenue projections are. Enterprise funds, as I mentioned, are telecom, water, wastewater, electric, and liquor. For telecom, looking at revenue of about $2.8 million, expenses $2.4 million. Debt service of about $841,000. That's still the construction of the system back from 2004-05, and the core upgrade that we did a few years ago. And then there's transfer to general fund for some capital, which is support of our network computer, and then depreciation. You can see that one's budgeted. There's kind of a negative cash flow showing. We're trying to be very conservative on our budgeting on this one because they're still planning on converting to streaming, and we just don't know what that's going to do to our customer base. So we're budgeting essentially about $80,000 less than we budgeted last year, and so that's kind of the reason that we're looking at possibly a negative cash flow. We're certainly hoping it doesn't work out that way, but we want to be very conservative on our revenues, and then with expenses when we have some double cost for a few months, so that's actually a little higher than it typically would be, which is kind of causing that projected gap. Well, water fund revenue about 1.25 million, 1.26 million, a little bit for special assessments. Expenses right in that category at 2.4 million. And then we've got, there are my numbers. Oh, yeah, depreciation, yeah. So we have some capital outlay there, debt service, again, on some of our bonds for projects. And our projected cash flow is $166,000 just about. For 2024, the Utility Commission is or has approved a 4% rate increase. That's to cover some inflationary price increases for supplies and services. Just kind of looking at the math, what that means for a typical household, it's about $1 a month for a typical household user of about 3,000 gallons. So it's about $1 increase there. The 4% would equate to that on an average residential bill. Wastewater's pretty much same story here. The kind of difference on this one is obviously with the loss of the High Life plant, we have significantly less operational income. Now, we got the money from the state to help pay off the debt that they owed us on the wastewater treatment plant, so that reduced our debt service numbers. However, we don't have as much revenue coming in on the revenue side for the wastewater. And so we still have expenses of about 1.7 or 1.87 million. Again, we have facilities, we have pumps, we have chemicals, all that kind of stuff that we still need to pay for in our fixed costs. A little bit capital outlay, debt service there, and that's our portion of the debt on the wastewater plant. It does not include any of the High Life portion. That's been all paid off. So this is just our share of that debt. A little bit of transfer general fund again for some network stuff and depreciation. So we're looking at a positive balance there of about $112,000. Again, kind of the same discussion the Utility Commission had for water as for wastewater. They're actually looking implementing an 8% increase. That increase, again, is for loss of revenue for High Life, and then the other half of it is in same inflationary costs for goods, supplies, services. So that made up the 8%. And if you tack 8% onto, again, to the average residential bill using 3,000 gallons, that's about $3.37 a month increase there. So I kind of put some numbers on it. Yes,
Go back,
yes, Mayor.
Steve, to the water. Thank
Yep.
you. Okay, I'm good.
Okay, for electric, again, kind of the same thing with the High Life plant closing. There's significant loss of some revenues there. We have use of our reserve funds because we're using some dollars that we had built up to finish out these capital projects. We've got, $3.5 million that went into the transmission line that is just getting completed. We got the new truck shed for about $1.4 million. We had generators on order for $3.5 million, and then we've got $6 million into the new general building coming up. So partial of that was funded with bonds, partial it's funded with cash. So that's why you see a large use of the reserves there. Expenses, again, about matching expenses. That 5.5 of revenue is offset with 5.2 million of expenses. A little bit of transfer to the general fund. That's the transfer, the payment in lieu of tax, $200,000 that they make annually, and then the $900,000 or $9 million is showing you the capital outlay for that project. Depreciation, and so then MRES, Missouri River Energy Services, did a rate study for us. We do a rate study every 5 years. That rate study was completed in November and presented to the Utility Commission. Utility Commission in November at their last meeting, the study showed a need to increase rates by 5%. And again, that's kind of a combination of paying for the capital projects we're doing, inflationary pressures for goods and services, and the loss of significant revenue, from the High Life plant. We are in the rate study. We did project a portion of those revenues coming back in for when the new facility kicks off, but until we know what they're doing and the timing on that, it's a little tough to determine. But again, so the 5% that the Utility Commission approved If you look, again, kind of to an average residential customer that uses 800 kilowatt hours, that would equate $4.07 a month increase for that. Liquor, in this one, we've got the revenue about almost 2.5 million. Again, uses some reserves there, which is our project that we're working on for the, and that includes the bond money. So for the expansion, expenses of about 2.35 million, the $100,000 transfer in payment in lieu of tax that normally comes to general fund, and then $45,000, that's our new debt service for the project once we start paying the debt service back on those new bonds. And then this year, the large expense on capital outlay. We've spent some dollars on engineering, things like that already in 23. This is what we're projecting for 24. Depreciation, and then that would net out to actually to zero. So that's where this fund falls. General fund, as I mentioned, there's a number of things that make up the general fund. There's the list on your screen that you can see. There's quite a number of departments and services, facilities that fall under the general fund. The budget proposed for that is $3.35 million. That's up about 9% from last year. Again, in there we had the inflationary pressures. We had labor contracts had come due, those type of things for the general fund as well. We also had some capital expenses that were a little bit higher. They're same as last year, but a little bit higher than 2 years ago. General fund capital, this is a list of the general fund capital. The council talked about this, I think, back in October. So we've got some computer replacement, a couple of things, 3 things for the fire department. We're matching some more dollars to that USDA grant for the Wildland truck. And then the Unit 65, the tanker truck, fire chief had talked to you about getting that tanker truck replaced, and some dollars put in that fund of $160,000. And then most recently, the SCBA compressor for that. Council heard about that the last 2 meetings. That got inserted here for $40,000. Some server maintenance is for $1,500. Parks, $5,000 for their building maintenance fund. Parks pickup for $44,000. And then police had a couple of things in, breathalyzer units and ballistic shield upgrades, collectively about $3,600 or $6,600 there. Street equipment reserve fund, that's asterisk. There's one of the trucks, snowplows that we're changing out. When that gets sold, those dollars will go back into that fund for that one truck. And then the other thing under streets was the insect sprayer, replacing that. I think the sprayer we have is probably a decade older, maybe a little better. So, so those are things that were funded from general fund capital. The special revenue funds, again, these are activities that are quasi-business. They make some money through user fees, but not enough to be self-supporting. Those include the library, airport, ambulances, self-supporting, pool, arena, EDA, and the community center. And so the tax levy needed to support those funds collectively totals just over $1 million. The capital for the special revenue funds, that's in 2 slides, I jumped ahead. Airport, we've got $75,000 in grants in that $78,000 figure, but we had $3,750 of match that we needed to have for our local match in that, match the FAA and state money. The community center, they're looking to start replacing some tables. Library has, I think, a 3-year, 4-year program to replace their computers. And then the feasibility study for the pool, that was recommended for approval by the council to get some new costs on that. So then just kind of looking at overall at the special revenue funds, they generate about $1.4 million in revenues. The vast majority of that is coming from the ambulance. Probably about $600,000 of that is coming, or better, is coming from the ambulance. And then we have tax levy for operations. And then their total expenses total about $2.26 million. There's some debt service in there. That's for the ice system at the arena that we did 5-6 years ago. And then the capital outlay that was just outlined. And then for our debt service that goes to the tax levy, there's some debt service that is paid by the revenue funds, like the water. When we redo a street, there's a water line, there's a sewer line. Those are those portions of those bonds are paid for by those enterprise funds. And then the general fund pays for like the street reconstruction, that kind of thing. So we've got the emergency services facility loan we're paying on, ice arena system, and then the 09, 13, 17, and 20 street projects. And so our debt levy for those 6 projects totals $567,000. As I mentioned, miscellaneous projects, these are things mostly TIFs, things like that, and then the dilapidated housing project. Again, these are self-supporting, so the revenues that are collected through the TIF districts are enough to pay the obligations in those districts. And as I note here, if there's surplus TIF funds in one of these accounts, after the TIF closes out, those are then sent back to the county and they're redistributed amongst all the taxing jurisdictions. So. Okay. And then for a little bit of a summary on this, so for the 24 proposed levy, we had general fund operations. That's about 23, not quite 23% of the tax levy supports general fund operations. That was that long list that was a couple slides ago. And then we have $315,000 of general fund capital. And then about 40% of the tax levy goes to support special revenue funds, things like the arena, library, community center. Those are multi-purpose center, I guess. That is the $1,013,000, the special revenue funds. About 40%, yeah, correct. And then there's another $23,000 going for capital there in special revenue funds. Then the $567,000 worth of debt service levy. We do have to levy for the tax abatements, so those, residential homes that are getting built that have the 5-year tax abatement, we collect those and then we return those dollars back to those property owners. So we have to budget for that, and that's totaling $37,000. And then we have $20,000 for the dilapidated housing program. That's the fund that we have some dollars in when there's properties that need to be demoed or otherwise the owners want them demolished, that we can tap to use that. So overall, the proposed levy is $2,561,842. That is a 5.59% increase over last year. That was a point of considerable discussion with the council during the budget meetings of where to, set that levy. But that's the number you arrived at. This slide talks about in 2013, which we're getting about 10 years into this, the state did exempt a lot of city sales from state sales tax. Enterprise funds are not covered by this, so telecom, liquor, electric, they still have to pay sales tax on things, but like arena, community center, library, they can buy things that are state, they don't have to pay state sales tax on them. So our estimate is kind of just based on a percentage of our budget, but that will save Windom about $49,500 next year, not having that exemption. And so this little slide shows a little history of the property tax levy for the last 14 years. So you can see kind of the, it's ranged from a low of 0 to a high of 7.67 last year, and then the balance of them are in kind of in that 3s range. That kind of then equates out, if you look at the bottom figure here, the average tax levy change over the 14 years is about 3.59%. If you took all those, added them together, and divided them by 14, you get an average of 3.59. So you can see where the bars are. And then so just kind of a comparison, we have some comparison communities, and so here's a list of them, and these are, and I've got it noted in purple here, preliminaries. So when we set our preliminary levy in September, Windom set it at 5.7%. Okay, that was our preliminary levy number. So these comparable communities ranged from a low in Litchfield of 2.5 for their preliminary levy to a high of 16.9 in Laverne. So if you look at that range of all these communities, but again, just kind of for comparison, the average preliminary levy of all of our comparable cities was 7.26%, and ours was 5.7. So our preliminary was a little lower than what the average was. Where these cities will settle at, that's yet to be determined, but I just thought it was good information. I've showed you this, I had this last year. Unfortunately, the state has not released all their 23 data yet, so I couldn't update the table. Again, these are the same comp cities, population, what the tax capacity is, and then kind of looking at what the city tax rate is, and then what the total tax rate. Total tax rate would include things like county, school, special districts, things like that. And so it's kind of important to compare both numbers, because in some cities, the city does a lot of stuff. Like in Windom, we have the library, we have the arena, things like that. In another county, let's say Rock County, the libraries are done by the county. So to get apples and apples. So that's why you kind of take a collective look. So at these, again, the same slide as last year because I don't have the 23 numbers, but our city tax rate, 71.68% or 0.7168, and the average of all those cities was 0.7176. So again, rate almost dead rate on average of those cities. And then we look at the total rate. The total average is 1.3941, and we're at 1.383, so, or 0.2, so very, very close to those averages. And then lastly, this is just kind of a snapshot of our general fund reserve. That's a number. The council's policy is to maintain between 35 and 60% of that reserve because things come up once in a while. What this slide is based on is the 2022 audited reserve because that year is closed, and then using our 24 budgeted number. So hopefully at the end of 23 we'll have a few more dollars in that reserve, which will then bump this ratio up a little bit, but we're using hard numbers that we've got to calculate where we're sitting on the general fund reserve right now. So I know that was kind of fast, but if you have questions, this would be the time.
Okay, first thing, we will take questions from the city council. And this process now is formally called the Truth in Taxation, part of where people could come in and voice their opinions. We will do that. I would like to take comments from the council first off. See if you have any comments on the presentation of the budget. Marv?
Just taking that end of year thought a little further, because it doesn't seem like it's going to snow. I know the community center's been busy almost every weekend, and the arena was busy this summer. Do you project that we'll finish the year as far as the general fund in really positive?
Well, you guys get the same monthly financials, so kind of, I'm hoping yes, but in December, we do have 3 payrolls. There's 2 months of the year that there's 3 payrolls, so there's there's a payroll there, and then there are some other things that I know, like I'm going to pick on John because he's here, but in the street department, you kind of, where's my budget at? Where's my budget at? Where's my budget at? And it didn't snow last week, which is great, but he probably has plow blades and things like that he would like to buy. So if he's got a little budget authority left, that might be a good thing because it's something he's going to use into 24 and, help down the line. So I'm still hopeful that we are going to come in ahead or under budget. We historically have come in under budget, somewhere in that probably $100,000 range, a little more, a little less sometimes, but I'm still hopeful that we're going to come in within budget and a little bit under.
Do we have any idea when the Prime Pork is planning on coming online, or, starting any of their businesses or stuff like that, as far as the water and sewer and electrical?
Tiffany and I are actually meeting with Premium Iowa Pork tomorrow, so we're hoping to get a little bit better idea, but they really haven't provided us with any plans with no timeline or things like that. So we're going to start talking about some of their plans and that state money that we are able to access, because that's for job creation. So we're hoping to get a little more information with them. But right now, we just don't have anything else to share. They had the press release that Mike, I think, put out in the paper, and So, but certainly share that when we get it, but.
Any other comments? Okay. This is not a hearing, but at this time, we're welcoming any public comment. If any members of the Windom, City of Windom would like to come up and speak, department heads are welcome too, if you live in the City of Windom. Okay. Hearing none, the next thing that the council will do is, after this, unless the council wishes at this time to make any changes, will be to have this at our next meeting to approve the budget for 2024.
And set the levy.
And set the official levy will be set at that time. Okay, hearing none, that agenda item is concluded. Thank you. Thank you, Steve, for putting that together for us. Okay, next item, MnDOT local road improvement. There's a resolution in your packet. Steve, you want to just, we talked about this, but
Sure.
give us an
Yep.
update.
Just an update. So, yeah, I think it was back in October, we had talked about this local road improvement program. It's a state program where they'll fund, give some grant funds for roads kind of regional significance. We had applied in 2020 for a reconstruction of 10th Street, essentially from the Highway 6071 highway down to County State Aid Road 13. That's where 10th Street turns kind of into River Road at that point. That segment, the county redid theirs back in 2011. And so we're looking at reconstructing from the highway to County State Aid Road 13. We applied for that in 2020. We did not get funded, but we were relatively close to the funding line. And so the discussion, the state hadn't funded the program until this year again when the state had a surplus. So they put some dollars in it. So staff brought it back to the council to see if you wish to pursue that grant application again for that section of road. I believe this council referred it back to the utility commission and to the street committee to make sure that that 10th Street is still a priority for them to get redone and to get the reconstruction completed. And the utility commission did have a discussion, and they affirmed that it's still priority for them to get the utilities reconstructed. And then the street committee also met and is affirming this as a priority and recommending the submission of a grant for this. So what the memo just kind of outlines that. I've got a copy, as you noted, of the resolution that we need. We need a resolution of support from the city council for the application. We've got a resolution of support from the county board of supervisors already completed. There is a copy in the packet that shows the route, and then there's the updated cost, and the updated costs, whoops, one too far. We're rated just short of $5.7 million. So this is a very, very expensive project. The state grant, if it were awarded, would be $1.5 million. And so then that would be used to kind of reduce the cost across the board for the project. So that's the application. I did put a copy of the 2020 application in just for your information. This is due on the 8th of December, and so it's due on Friday. So I've started the preliminary paperwork on it and basically need your approval of this resolution to complete that and finish the application.
Are you able to email this application?
It's
Okay.
on the state site.
All right. We were just talking about how long it takes when you put something in the mail nowadays. One thing I just wanted to make a couple of comments that I have heard a response from quite a few members of the public that would be in favor of this, just because of the road conditions. We know John's trying to keep them up, but it's a challenge sometimes, we understand that. Also, I've heard Steve mention the regional significance. Businesses that utilize that road in their conveyance of goods or their business trucks, things like that, utilizing the roads that we're very supportive of, do something with it. However, the ones that are out of town don't pay for that, so we gotta remember that part of it. Unless we put a quarter machine or something when they enter that road and we could charge them. But I do believe it has regional significance, it fits it, and I'd encourage council to pass a resolution. Council wish to take action or have any comments themselves? Marv?
We have a street project that is the funding is being completed, so we will have funds for this.
So if this grant is funded, we would be coming back and having have the council authorize a feasibility study. That's the first step in doing the special assessments and things like that we've done with other projects. So that's kind of how that project would play out. So there'll be a combination of funding in this. If it's funded, comes back to you guys, and then that'd be $1.5 million. Then there's water would have a portion of it, wastewater would have a portion of it. A portion of it would be special assessed, and then there'd be the debt service portion of it. So, but we would be looking at doing another general obligation bond and then parceling those debt costs out to those 4 categories.
Good question. Any others? Okay, council, you have a resolution if you wish to continue and finalize this project.
I'll introduce this resolution.
I would second.
The resolution was introduced by Dennis and seconded by Marv. Any further discussion? And I think we all know that the city can back out of this when that time comes, given the circumstances at that time. And I'm sure there will be public comment, as you may have some members, property owners adjacent to it that may not like it. So, okay. That has been introduced. Steve, roll call.
Grunig,
Yes.
Esplin. Yes. Benson,
Yes.
Quaid,
Yes.
Nelson.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Okay. Next one is the Personnel Committee met, and our Personnel Committee Chair, Marv, you want to take it from here?
After meeting with the department head group on November 28th, the Personnel Committee recommends that the supervisory pay scale follow the general wage increase that was approved for the IBEW labor agreement, with the exception of the police chief and the assistant chief. They will follow the LELS general wage agreement. The Personnel Committee is also recommending a continuation of the 2023 health insurance cap for the department head group, with the exception again of the police chief and the assistant chief, which will use the LELS benefit cap for year 2024. So there's a handout that I passed out earlier. After meeting today with a spokesman for the department head group, they are not in agreement with the placement of the health insurance cap at the 2023 level, and wish that the city council would not approve the supervisory pay scale, and ask the personnel committee to continue to negotiate the health insurance cap portion of the agreement. The Personnel Committee has committed to reviewing the cost of health insurance for 2025 at the end of next year. But the supervisory group wants to be on record that they are not in agreement with the cap for 2024 in this current agreement. So that is what's before us tonight. We can go ahead with the Personnel Committee recommendation, or the council could not pass it and send the personnel back for more negotiation.
You kind of turned it back over to me there, Marv. And I would say that the thing that the council has to act on is a recommendation given by the Personnel Committee. I mean, that's what's on the table as a recommendation from the Personnel Committee. Personnel Committee did meet in person and listen to the comments from the department heads at the last department head meeting. I think it was a generous move to take a look at this next year. And this is just my opinion singly. I won't speak for them, but felt that it was a generous offer to look at it in 2025 at the end of that year was my thoughts. And we don't know what health insurance is going to do next year. If we have a 9.5% increase, or we have 0% increase. The group of department heads, it was stressed at that meeting, we have excellent department heads. And we feel gracious that we have them. But I think that as we work through here, you know, in the comment that is now public information is, you know, there's a lot of very valid items in here. But also, I think we have to understand that the City Council and City of Windom have two union bargaining units. Department heads do not belong to either one. Our department heads have, to my knowledge, have not looked at other insurances, nor were they offered any. So, but they do not belong to the IBEW who elected their health insurance. And so that was not an option for the department heads. They're not in a bargaining unit. So I agree it is quite complicated. And I think the Personnel Committee made a good decision to see what that happens to next year. And that's my opinion. But I would like other personnel committees, if they have from their take, would like to comment. I would, I guess Jenny's the other one at the table besides Marv.
Yeah, I guess my overall comment that I've expressed before is that it's just very unfortunate that the union people were able to get a different insurance plan that had a much lower deductible and added vision and dental. And so they're getting a much better deal with their insurance. But unfortunately, our supervisors are not able to get that same insurance and that same deal. Their insurance then is a very, very much a higher deductible, and they don't get vision and dental included in their insurance. So there is a disproportionate, you know, amount there when you're looking at what the majority of employees for the city have for what their insurance benefits are going to be compared to what the supervisors get. And it's unfortunate. I wish that they all could be in the same, and then we wouldn't have this dilemma. But it's very hard too, because, you know, you want to be able to try to make it all fair for everyone and where it needs to be. But also we have to look at the overall budget and where we're at and how that affects everything else that we do. It's like, you think that it's not a whole bunch of money, but you take a little bit from one part and you put it somewhere else, then that means some other department or some other thing, it doesn't get funded. We can't, it's not that we magically come up with money. If we put money one place, it comes away from somewhere else. And so that's the hard thing to look at, I think, as a council person, is you look at, what do I do? You know, I want to give money to this person or this project, but then who am I taking that money away from? And that's a really hard decision to make. So I feel like we try to do our best saying we're not going to do a 3-year, like this is 3 years like everyone else, how it's going to stay, that we're open to looking at it next year when we find out what the rates are for insurance, and then coming back to the table with the supervisor group and say, okay, here's where we're at, what can we do, and where, you know, then we're going to be open to negotiation again. And so that's kind of where I stand. I totally understand where the supervisors are coming from. Feel for them. I wish that everybody had the same insurance and this would be an easy decision, but I just am not sure where that money, where we take from to put in other places. But I'm hoping next year we'll open that negotiation and figure that out.
One of the things with inflation is what's included is the cost of insurance, but it's in a very indirect way that they figure that out. And so I guess my hope is with the inflationary increase that we're given, department heads, that will help cover some of that cost of the increase to their health insurance. And like Jenny said, that we will look at it again at the end of next year.
I would encourage any other council members that have a question for the Personnel Committee to ask them now if they are not understanding this. It is somewhat complicated. When you go through 2 union agreements, both of them are different, and then the supervisors pay. Typically, department heads have typically followed IBEW. That's a fact, and the wage portion was. And, your department heads are, I would say in general, a higher scale, than the union employees. It costs us more dollars. But they're all very good department heads. So it's a tough call.
I guess that's what I was looking at too, is the difference in wages versus salaries, and I noticed that there is quite a difference, which there probably should be, because I know a lot of them work, I almost swore, pretty darn hard. So, and I know one guy that has to go through quite a bit of putting up with people. But then again, I know people living on Social Security are paying their Medicare, and anything other than that is out of pocket for them. And I know that's brought up several times to me, but I don't know. I guess I don't have to worry about my insurance. It doesn't cost me a nickel for me or my wife. I do have to pay Medicare, of course, but so I'm fortunate. But I earned it too. So I don't know. Like I say, I don't know this. I'm not a lawyer. I know it's difficult, very difficult. And I understand where they're coming from. But what do you do? I know that who knows what this next year is going to bring. I don't know. I don't have no idea. It's an election year, so I'd be real careful about betting on anything. But I don't know. I guess it's a difficult decision. So.
Steve, I just need a little bit of maybe clarification for myself too, is that the IBEW, their insurance was cheaper and also had vision and dental. Okay. And what if their insurance goes up 9.5% next year?
What is in the contract is that those caps that the city contributions are frozen in 24, 25, and 26.
So I just want to make that clear that our caps are in place for the next 3 years with IBEW. We've taken the position to allow it to be discussed again next year with the department heads, right? Okay, so we're not saying this is a 3-year deal for the department heads, but we are on wages, is my understanding. That's where that's at. We've committed to that, which a 5.55 is a pretty good wage increase annually. That compounds. Okay, so still a tough decision for the council. Any final questions? Council needs to act on this one way or another. Does the Personnel Committee have a recommendation that the Personnel Committee agreed to when we met after the department head meeting?
I would make the motion to approve the 2024 through 2026 supervisory pay scale.
Could I ask for a clarification on, first of all, just a point of order, does that include the insurance cap the same for the next year, and that we would talk to the department heads again in 2025 or 4?
Yes, that is what we agreed on.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
That motion made by Marv, seconded by Jim. Any further discussion or comments? Jenny?
Just so I'm sure, I'm clear on this, or we're clear. So the next 3 years, we have the 5.55% locked in for our supervisors. And then we're agreeing to just lock in the insurance cap for 2024. And at the end of the year of 2024, we will
Yes.
relook at and talk about what 2025 and 2026, may happen. So that's.
For insurance only.
Yep, and for supervisors only.
Okay. And was that what the motion and second said?
It is.
Jim? Same. Thank you. Okay. That motion has been made and seconded with the clarification. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, and once again, I thank the department heads. This is a tough deal, but your questions did yield something, and that was that we're going to open this up to look at it again next year. Thank you. Okay. IBEW MOA for compensation study. Steve? Marv, I'm sorry. Marv?
Well, during the negotiations with some of the IBEW employees provided comparison studies of their job classifications. Many felt that they had fallen behind in the market over the years, and so the thought was there should be a compensation study done. So the Personnel Committee recommends to approve the MOA between the city and the IBEW relating to a compensation study. And I would make that a motion.
in '25.
So just approve the MOA.
Yep. Okay, so the motion was to approve the MOA. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jenny. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are down to the contractor payment and charges. First one is Truck Garage, Wilcon Construction Services, payment number 6, $224,916.14. Did we have any comments, Steve, on that from?
No, just, Jason wanted to note that, they're hoping to be done by the end of December. They're working on some last, bits of the inside stuff, and so we're hoping to have this wrapped up. It'd be nice if we had the last pay request for the last council meeting of the year, but we'll see how that goes. But both the engineer and Jason have recommended approval of this pay request for the truck garage.
When was the completion date supposed to be done by, Steve? Do you recall?
First part of December, November,
Of November?
Yep.
And
They-
did we
they
give
were-
them a time extension? I can't, or,
not yet, no. There was some
Okay.
roof steel delay
Yep.
that was unavoidable on their side, so we're
Okay.
discussing that.
so we'll do that or whatever in
We'll
the
discuss,
final one?
probably in the final, correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll take these one at a time. Anybody wish to,
I would make,
I'll make the motion for payment number 6 to Wilcon Construction in the amount of $224,916.14.
I would second.
that motion was duly made and seconded for Wilcon Construction, payment number 6. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign, and that carries. The second one is transmission line reconstruction, IES Commercial, payment number 4, in the amount of $761,695.69. Any comments on that one, Steve?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. Yep, this project is pretty much completed. They completed it a couple weeks ago, got everything tied in. The only thing that's kind of outstanding on this, there's some restoration work around the bases of the poles, things like that. We're working with the contractor and the engineer to see if we can get this lined up so that this project can be closed out. We want to make sure we get all the costs in for this calendar year so we can get it into MISO, get it capitalized, and start our recovery window on this. So we are having that conversation, but this project is, like I said, substantially complete and is in operation.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve that?
I'll make the motion to improve the transmission lines number 4.
I'll second.
Motion Scott, second by Jenny, to approve the IES Commercial Incorporated payment number 4. Any discussion or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next one is a generator plant construction, Wilcon Construction Services, payment number 1 in the amount of $218,220.30.
This is for the new generation building. This is the first pay request. They're just getting started. A chunk of this is mobilization and then also the demolition of the old truck shed that was there. So that is down and out. They've done the excavations and they're working on footings currently. So again, this is first pay request on this project and is recommended by Jason, the Utility Commission, and the engineer, as were the other two.
Thank you. Council wish to take action.
I'll make a motion to approve this payment to Wilcon Construction, payment number 1 for $218,220.30.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Dennis, for the motion, and second by Scott. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. One question I have on all this.
Yes, sir.
How long has the electric department saved for all these projects. When did that start? Does Marv know?
Long time ago.
And that's why year after year, I always like, wow, look at all that money that they had in that account. So the public knows where that's going. It's going back into the infrastructure and stability of the electric department. Very good.
Tonight's probably got to be a record, though, for how much we've actually spent.
These are some very large pay requests, and so, yeah. Yep, this is one of the biggest ones that we've had.
Okay, under new business, I believe we're gonna have discussion, please, is what I would like to have about the, our next council meeting, date of 19th. I would like to open up discussion about moving that meeting time up so council members could attend their either children or grandchildren's Christmas programs that start, I believe, at 6:30. And if we could have would the council be okay with a 5 or 5 o'clock meeting or 5:30? Any discussion on that?
I would prefer 5 o'clock to get in, so we can get into the school before it actually starts, if we could, please. I'd like to make a motion to change the meeting time to 5 o'clock on the 19th.
I'll second.
Thank you for that motion, Scott. And Jim, do you got grandkids there? Even if you do or don't, I thank you for that second. Because, all right, super. So it's been motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. Other new business. Jenny?
I would like to bring it up to the council. We talked about it at the street department committee meeting about having a snowplow truck naming contest for the city of Windom. We have 3 new plows, which should be here by the end of the year. And right now they are named 42, 43, and 44. And so I thought the DOT, a lot of other states do this. They have contests to name their plows. And so what I'm suggesting is that we, as a council, I guess, approve or say that it would be okay for me to do this. What we do is it'd be very simple. We're not going to have a lot of rules, not a lot of anything with it. We'll just have a yellow box, because they're going to be yellow trucks, at City Hall. We'll have little sheets of paper down there, or you can write on your own sheet of paper and bring it down. But this would be if you live in the city of Windom. So we'd like a city of Windom resident to name the city plow. We'll have 3 different names, so 3 people will win. It can be any age, so your kids can put in a name of what they would like to plow, or the adult or the grandparent, all ages. We just ask that you have your name, your address, and then the name of what you'd like the snowplow to be called. Then that way we can, send you something so that you know that you won and your plow got named. When the plow is named, then we would like to have the little letters of what the plow name on the actual plow. This contest, I think we'll run it for 1 month is what I planned. So I'll have the box at City Hall by tomorrow morning. So from now till January 5th, city residents could come down and drop off your plow name. You can also put it in the night deposit where you put your bills. That would be fine too. If you put your name, address, and what your plow name is there, then the people at City Hall would put that into the box as well. Then on January 5th, we'll send it over to our plow drivers and have them be the preliminary judges to go through the names and weed that down. And then the street committee will meet and finalize the 3 names and the 3 winners. So we hope to have that back to our January 16th city council meeting. And, we don't have big prizes or anything. The prize is that you'll have bragging rights for many, many years that your name of what you named the plow is on that plow here driving around the city of Windom. So encourage people to do that. And And I guess just asking for the approval of the council or letting me run with this plow naming contest.
Well, Jenny, I think that's a great idea that the street committee came up with. After many questions that I asked you, but you answered them all very well.
We have to say that was solely Jenny's idea.
So I would like, okay, Marv, comment?
How many times can you enter?
We would like you to just enter once. Like I said, I'm not going to really put rules on this, but as you know, the street department goes through and picks out the names. Obviously, if it's a not appropriate name, it'll get thrown out. If we pick your name as a winner, if you had a second one in there, your second one isn't going to get picked. You can only win once. So we'd kind of just encourage everybody to put one name in. But like I said, I'm not going to hold hard and fast to rules. The committee will select what's appropriate for the final 3 names.
So with that, I would like to give Councilmember Quaid and the street committee that authorization by motion.
I'll make the motion to give Jenny and the street committee naming rights to the plows of the city of Windom, Minnesota, and ask if we could have the citizen take picture afterwards.
Yeah, you're even developing it more as we move along, if there's a second.
I'll second.
And a second by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. There we go. Perfect. Any other new business? Jim?
I had a guy ask me today about, is the chamber thinking about anything for Christmas? And does anybody know if they are or not? And if so, why not if they're not? St. James is having a parade and a carnival and all these lights that they got there, all over the radio and everything. And I'm just kind of curious about our people.
Okay, Jenny?
We do have, I was going to mention it in my comments or whatever, but the chamber is sponsoring and putting together the lights down at Island Park. If you've been down there in the evening, they have that lit up. The chamber and different businesses are doing that. And then also on Thursday, December 14th is the Christmas by Candlelight downtown, and the chamber and businesses sponsor that. That's from 4 to 7. And that typically has been carolers are downtown, businesses are open later, hot chocolate. Years ago, there used to be like chestnuts on an open fire. I don't know if that still is, but I think they used to have the carriages, and then I think that's when, I can't think of the name now. Santa Claus? Used to have, well, Santa Claus, but they used to have the reindeer. I don't know if that still goes on or not, but I know when my kids were littler, the real reindeer were downtown too. So I know that's the thing that the chamber for the Christmas by Candlelight that happens.
Okay. That's your answer, Jim. I can't give it any better than that. All right, thank you. Okay, once again, any new business? Old business? Hearing none, we'll move to council comments. Scott?
Just want to say thanks to the department heads. We know you guys do a hard job of taking care of our cities and our citizens of Windom. We want to say thank you. Wish there was more we could do for you guys, and hopefully with the stuff going forward, we can help each other out, because you guys deserve it. And then with the warm weather coming up and the ice and stuff like that, people just be careful. Because, I mean, I know people want to go out ice fishing and get out there and catch that big fish, but it ain't worth you going in the water for it. And just be careful out there, and have a very, very Merry Christmas for everybody around, and help people in need. Thank you.
Thanks. Jenny?
Okay. I have a few different things, just to call the people's attention so they're aware of what's happening in our community. But I was talking with KDOM, and they're doing kind of a fun little contest that I just thought would be fun for people. Hopefully they're listening to KDOM. They're going to have a contest in December called Reindeer Races. And I was asking them, what is that? I heard a little bit, but I didn't really know what it was about. They're going to have, like, I think hourly, that you can call in, pick a reindeer, and then they have a little race. And then if that reindeer wins, you go into the winning pot. And then by the end of the month, they have a final race. And whoever wins, KDOM is going to pay their electric bill for the month of December. And so I'm like, City of Windom residents, get your electric bill paid. You know, try this reindeer race thing here in our community, and hopefully you can get your electric bill paid for the month of December. So, a good thing to try out. Saturday at the Windom Community Center is the holiday vendor fair. That's always a good time. I went last Saturday. The Bark had their vendor fair, and that was a good time. It's just nice to support local vendors that make local things. So always good. But this Saturday is the Windom Community Center one. If you haven't been yet in the evening to Island Park, where the chamber and different businesses have set up lights, that's nice to check out. Doesn't cost you anything. You can go drive through with your family or walk through, take pictures. We have the plow naming contest, so that'll be exciting. So you can do that this month too. Then the library, they're having an upcycle ornament where they're asking people to use things around your house. Don't buy anything, just things you have laying around your house to make an ornament to drop off to the library to decorate down there. So I have plans. I'm going to come up with something. But I thought that's a fun thing. So I would encourage people to stop at the library and check out what kind of ornaments people in the community are making and decorating down at the library. Then, like I was talking about, Thursday, December 14th is the Christmas by Candlelight in downtown Windom from 4 to 7. So you can check out our businesses downtown and hang out, see our local people around town, and wish people a Merry Christmas. Just a lot going on. Also, I have to wish my mom a happy birthday. It's her birthday today. So happy birthday, Donna Gravely. And then just enjoy the month of December. We have so much going on, and hopefully it'll be good weather to take in all these different activities in town.
Jenny, I'm surprised you didn't bring us treats for your mom's birthday. Jim?
I have to, the supervisors, I've been in that position, and people don't even know how much you do. And if they did know, they'd say, oh, whatever. A lot of well, I'll leave it at that. That's about all I have.
I've said enough. I'll pass.
Dennis?
I have nothing.
Steve?
Just as we went through all the budget stuff, thanks to the department heads for all the work and the finance staff to put the budget stuff together, and thanks to the council for all the nights of extra meetings that you went through too. So it's a tough task, but went through it and it goes fairly smoothly, so thank you.
And with that, to our department heads, we do appreciate what you do for the city of Windom. I think that everyone here values you and how you treat your employees in your respective departments. I think you're the ones who have to keep up the morale in your departments. That's not always an easy job sometimes. There's duties that you give out that are sometimes very hard to do. And, we do appreciate that. So, thank you once again. And we will adjourn this meeting until 5 p.m. Well, will be our next meeting. We're not just recessing it. So we will be back here in a couple weeks. Thank you all. Meeting's adjourned.